that, it may well be that the forces are used in an improper way. But we don't have any evidence of that right now. All we have is a document that says we have a federal facility under attack, or that violence has been, forced it to close down, and we want to protect it. That doesn't strike me as a glaring overuse on its face. Now, if what happens is what you're suggesting, that they do engage in law enforcement activities, then obviously we have another problem. But that's not even what the district court found. I mean, you couldn't find it. There's no deployment at this point.
Well, certainly. I mean, we're not talking about like the violations of the Posse Comitatus Act at this point. It is a bit speculative. But what we have is, from Newsom, we know that this court has a role in evaluating the president's determinations. There is a direction that is this court's role. This is the case, though, that represents the outer limits of the president's authority.
Hey, Blue.
We have, in the month leading up,
I
not even the
just
week,
popped
if we
in to
look at
listen
the
to this.
entire month of September, the district court found there was one incident.
These judges are giving her, this is the Oregon
where protesters shine flashlights in the eyes.
defending the lower court's ban on
I mean, if that's
the
true,
troops
then I think we've got
order.
a problem, because I don't think that's what the
and
record
these
says.
judges are giving her a hard time.
I mean, if the district court really said that's all that happened,
I mean,
in
they're
September, then
basically
the district court's
coming
clearly
from the
erroneous.
point of
I didn't
view,
think the district court
how
said
do we
that. I
decide,
thought the district court
you know,
actually detailed
when
more than just one
the
incident in
situation is
September
bad
where,
enough for the president to
flashlights
order
were
in
shined in the
troops?
eyes.
How do we know? You know, I mean,
Your Honor,
kind of their
that's
basic
the record, though.
line
Even
of
if we go
questioning.
back to
Well, we'll have to go into it, but I don't understand the record to be that for September. I understand it to have gone down, but not that there was one incident and that was it.
That's not us saying, there were certainly protests throughout the month of September, but they were,
There's a lot of
as I
times just 'cause
earlier mentioned,
judges
and the district court
challenge
found
one
small,
side doesn't
less
mean
than
they're
30 people,
against them.
largely sedate.
They're just
generally
They're doing their job.
That's what was happening in September. So there was an incident on Labor Day on September 1st where there were increased protests. 125 people were involved in the activity. But what we have is the statement from FPS that they were not concerned with the group. That's at 46-1. This is the day when the guillotine was displayed.
Right.
That arguably protected political speech. There were 40 people who remained after the larger group left, and they did arrest a few. After that, you have September 2nd, completely uneventful. September 3rd, there was a drone flying. There was some altercations. Everything was managed. That's the consistency throughout the month of September. And there were occasions when there might be, a larger number of protesters, but they were generally calm and sedate. And any of the sporadic and kind of more minimal criminal activity was appropriately handled by law enforcement resources. And that's what's supposed to happen, because the situations that we're talking about, even the situations where it unfortunately could include an assault on a federal officer, that's a crime. That's a crime that was handled. They were arrested, and I understand that the U.S. Attorney's Office had 22, they're prosecuting 22 defendants. That's how this process is supposed to work. It's not that there is a protest, and then you just send in the military. This is protected speech. And for the most part, it is calm and sedate. And it is
So the drone on, I guess this is the Wednesday, the suspect got violent and spit on agents. He was arrested and booked.
That's general criminal activity that's handled appropriately by law enforcement.
Yeah.
On the 4th, you have 20 protesters.
You don't need National
and then
Guard
there's
for
only
that.
15 at 8:30. On the 5th, FPS said it was a small group with
Especially
low
since
energy,
Stephen Miller
no
says
calls
that
for service.
he's the
On
one
the
that's
6th,
that's
there was 50
unleashing
to
the National
60
Guard.
active protesters,
Yeah.
lots of
Yeah,
noise.
she ought to play
they were
that quote.
energized, no arrests.
This isn't
September
even the
7th,
president making
7
these
people,
decisions.
Low energy. September 8th, 30 people. There were an altercation between protester and a counter protester, not against the facility. It continues, and I'm happy to go through the record.
No, this is helpful. We'll have to go through. I mean, I don't think there's any question that it's gone down in September, but part of the problem there is it's gone down largely because of this influx of other forces, which is outside of the regular use of those FPS officials. So
Does the
it's sort of
record
like-
show us how many of the extra people remain in Portland, the FPS, and how many have been sent back?
Uh-oh.
to-
What happened to their volume?
I don't know if you heard the question. I think it was, does it show, I mean, we know that up to 115 came. Do we know how many were there of the extra
Am I-
FPS? Maybe
am I
this is for the,
muted or something? Did you not hear? Can
yeah,
you-
we're not hearing you very well. It's kind of getting muffled for some reason.
Well, I'm,
There you go.
okay.
Appeals court on a Zoom
Microphone.
call.
Does the record show, the record is in front of us, how many of the FPS officers from outside of Portland who came in remain in Portland now, and how many have been sent back to somewhere else?
I haven't been able to find the exact numbers, and much of the declarations don't have dates associated with them. So it is also
Yeah.
very possible that those officers were sent in June and they have all returned. We have a note within the last
That's a lot
week
of it. We
before
don't
the
even know
president's,
who they're sending, how
announcement
many
that
they're
there was a
sending, where
surge
they're
of
sending them.
officers that came out,
That
and
makes it
then there
hard
was
for
no
courts to
responsive
analyze
protest
this.
activity, and so they
Yeah.
went back to their respective offices. And then even after, I think that they may have plussed up their numbers in anticipation of the president's announcement, but then even then there was some increased protest activity, but it went back down. And
So the answer seems to be you don't know from that we can't know from this record. And I believe but I understood him to say, saying indirectly that some or many have gone somewhere else.
respond to potential threats. And they would use those numbers of officers to go to any kind of that exercise of speech, just in case something becomes violent. So this is squarely within their area of responsibility. And I know we continue to talk about FPS, but we haven't even talked about any of the other federal officers that are at the president's disposal. We have a ton of law enforcement agencies under the president's
It's an
control.
imprecise use.
There's referencing in their declarations to circumstances
word
again
to
that
use it in
are
an
outside of
appellate
what happened
argument.
in Oregon, or even if there was potentially a bomb threat. Well, we don't have anything that connects the bomb threat to these protesters. And if you do, you have significant law enforcement resources, ATF, FBI, that can respond to those potential threats. That's their job. That's what they do.
The problem that I have with this argument that I'm just trying to struggle with is, the president gets to direct his resources as he deems fit. And
National
it
Guard
just
aren't his
seems
resources.
a little counterintuitive to me that the city of
Yeah.
Portland can come in and say, no, you need to do it differently. Now, I understand there's a statute here, and we're going to have to review that.
I mean, this is a Ninth
But
Circuit, and
This
Northern
goes to the level
California,
of deference that I think
one
the
of the most
president is
liberal in the
entitled to in
country.
these circumstances.
these
And
judges don't.
it's not
stand
all
too
driven.
favorable
Would you
to the
agree? It's
state in
not
this.
all driven
But
by
they
what
could be
we
just-
see on the streets.
Well,
It's
also, I was
driven
going to
to
say,
some degree
just because there are troops
by what's
there
going on
and
behind the
the
scenes.
protest level goes
and
down,
you
doesn't
don't
mean
have a
that, I mean,
full view
that's not causation
into
necessarily.
that.
Right, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe people were working that day. Maybe there was something else
I
going on.
acknowledge that there is
We had
certainly
that in
information
DC,
behind
when
the
the-
scenes. But
some of the arrest
we don't
numbers
have that in this
or
record.
some of the numbers
And we
went
don't
down,
have
and
the
they
defendants
associated
coming
it, but it
forward
was not real
and
clear
putting
if that
forth
was really associated.
anything
I mean,
that shows that the
At
sporadic
this
and
point,
minimal
I think
instances
anybody
of
who's
violence,
arguing for the
criminal
use of
activity
troops is
that was
arguing
appropriately
for
handled by law
Hitler.
enforcement at Portland
Yeah,
is part of
okay.
a greater whole. I think
Yeah,
the
hit
district
that.
court found that
you hit that
Sorry,
Hit
the
these
defendants
judges
did
with
not
that
present
one.
any evidence that the sporadic violence was part of an organized
I'd
attempt
never be
to
able to be a
overthrow the
lawyer even if
government.
I was smart
And
enough
that's,
because
I
my
think,
mouth
what
is,
they're
I run my
asking this
mouth too
court
much.
to potentially look at when you're talking about, for example, the shooting in Dallas, that somehow increases the need.
Well, that goes to your rebellion, or that goes to their rebellion designation, but that doesn't necessarily go. I mean, you don't have to have that under prong 3
I
do you,
need to know a little more
for
about
the
the judges.
enforcement
in
of the
this.
laws.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand the.
Well, I mean, enforcement of the laws, you seem to say, well, there's no attempt to overthrow the government. And I mean, that's a fight within the context of whether there's a rebellion under subsection 2. But I don't know why that is relevant to subsection 3, which doesn't have anything to do with rebellion and is just the enforcement of the laws.
Well, I agree that the Dallas shooting shouldn't be the basis to send troops into Oregon. And if we're relying on that third prong, then it certainly, it doesn't make that more or less probable.
Can I add just, and maybe my colleagues have final questions too, but, and I don't want to focus on it, but I'm just perplexed. And I think Judge Beatty may have referenced this. So they reopened
Okay, this is
the building. They board.
this guy is Ryan
windows for
Nelson. He was
protection.
appointed by Trump.
And what does the
in
city of Portland do?
2018.
They issue a zoning violation. Are you defending issuing a zoning violation, telling them to take off the boards that were put up to respond to protesters? Do you think that that was maybe ill-advised?
Luckily,
is
in this case, it's not something that
prone
the court
to
needs to decide to
executive
determine whether or not the
deference.
president's determination was within a colorable basis or within the range of honest judgment. But what we do know is that the circumstances at the time the president authorized the troops, whatever date that might be, they didn't raise to the level that was necessary under the statute. And we would ask that the stay be denied.
Ha! So they two
Any
of
other
these
questions by my colleagues?
3
Thank
judges
you.
were appointed by Trump.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll have 3 minutes of rebuttal.
Oh, here's some rebuttal.
Thank you, Your Honors. I just have 3 quick points that I'd like to make. First, Judge Graber, going to your questions about the basis for the determination. We're not relying solely on the June 7th.
So Graber
And
on
you
the
can
left
watch this
there is the
program in its
only
entirety
non-Trump.
on our website,
Wiki.
cspan.org. We'll leave it here and take you live now to an event with global
Don't
finance
leave.
leaders
I wanted the
discussing
rebuttal.
cryptocurrency. This is live
Damn it.
coverage on C-SPAN 2.
Huh.
Finance and Development
Oh, well.
issue of September.
Okay. Well,
Huh.
yeah,
C-SPAN.
there was a clip out there of Trump saying something about a congressman. He said he was talking about Rand Paul, and then he said, and then there was another congressman, and I did him a huge favor, a life and death favor, and it was like, was that bribery or was it a death threat?
Life
And he's on camera just talking about it like it's nothing, and that's what, like Chris Christie the other day, he said. This is like a capo regime, like it's a mobster, and the Don tells who to hit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is.
It is. I mean, it truly is. I mean, that's how he approaches the Middle East and everything else. I mean,
Yeah, and then he's on the mic with some rich Arabs saying this guy's got so much cash. It's just
Yeah.
he's so cringy. He's awful.
I mean, and it's like this. Talk about the mob. I mean, you know, the is Kushner. I mean, I looked it up yesterday. I'd heard this figure, and I thought, did I hear that wrong? I looked it up. He is now sitting on top of $5.5 billion from Arab nations to his company to quote manage the investments, and then there's any efforts I've seen to try and find out what he's actually investing in. It's very little to find. I mean, they're just giving him billions of dollars.
Yeah, and then there was the whole the big crypto deal. Like 30 minutes before Trump made the extra 100% tariff announcement on China, somebody opens a crypto wallet, and they go in and they buy up a bunch of stuff, and then and they make a bunch of, there's a sell off, and they make a bunch of
Aren't they saying that was Barron? Is that the one that
well,
they're
the
saying
thing
was
is, I
Barron?
don't know. Barron did something, but there's also there's another one that seems to be, we don't know who it is. I don't know if that one was Barron or if it's but Barron did stuff too. So I mean, it's just the corruption is it's just like out in the open, and it just like, and hopefully they didn't actually turn it into cash or an actual hard asset, and it's just this fairy floss crypto crap. But and it just goes away.
You know who's really zeroing in on that elite billionaire stuff is these days is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean,
Yeah.
she's really
Well, she
boring.
made the thing is, she made a ton of money the last time with the tariffs. She was in on it too. The thing is,
and the small business loans too. She got into that.
She's making but the thing is, she's running for office. I think she's running against Ossoff for Senate, right? Is that what she's doing? I think she's running against. I think she's planning to run against Ossoff for Senate. And so I think but I think she also maybe just sees her way to nab the whole MAGA base for herself, because nobody's listening to them anymore, and that she can be their little savior. And so I mean, she's not without her own agenda. She's not without her own agenda. But
certainly,
if she can get them to push her forward, why wouldn't she speak up for them? Because she does understand them. Because she's not far removed from them. She's not been in this position her whole life, and
she's a lot closer to being one of them than Trump is.
Exactly. And so she can read them.
Now are you off your theory that she was going to run against Johnson?
No, I
have noticed you're right. I mean, she really trashes him.
I think that is still absolutely a possibility, and she would be in third in line for president. And then I think that maybe she would try to go along with an impeachment proceeding to get rid of him and Vance and get in there herself. I would put nothing past her, but I don't now. So the rep from Arizona, supposedly her election results are going to be certified today. So I don't know how.
I noticed now the House is convening at 2:00 today.
So I don't know how Johnson keeps pushing that off, swearing her in. I don't know how he does that.
Yeah.
And then so I think we get
convening.
So I'm confused too, though. So if they get a vote in the House on Epstein to release it, is that a done deal because it's a discharge petition, or does it still have to go to the Senate and to Trump?
Oh, well, all that would happen is then they have the House vote. If the discharge petition succeeds, then they have the House vote. And everybody seems to think that the call to release the records would pass in the House. But yes, then it has to go to the Senate. And I haven't seen much nose counting yet on what would happen in the Senate. But it would have to go to the Senate. And then Trump would have to sign it. So it's never going to happen.
Yeah. So
I mean, for it to actually be any kind of law. Now, if they just want to make it a resolution, maybe that's what they're doing. If it's just a resolution, a sense of the House, a sentiment, maybe that's all it is, and that's all it would be. But
go on record and see if you're protecting pedophile or not. And then who was it? Came out and said something about, it was Laura Loomer. She said, do not pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. And I'm like, okay, so they must be talking about doing it then, right?
Yeah.
Or she wouldn't be coming out there with a tweet saying, don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think what they're afraid of is in allowing the House to vote on the discharge petition and having a full House vote is so many Republicans will have to defy Trump because it's just too dangerous for them to vote to keep the cover up going for their own MAGA voters. And
Well-
so that's why they're just don't even want to have a vote.
Well, so they're gonna, I mean, people need to go against him. That's all there is to it. They need to gang up against him like the schoolyard bully to show how
Yeah.
weak and pathetic he actually is. But you know, he's
Yeah.
nothing but a grifter and a con man. So, and
I
Marjorie
just
Taylor
pulled
Greene, thank
I
you very
just
much
pulled
for
this
doing
one
this.
from
I really appreciate it.
oh yeah, I love this one.
I was just telling you,
yeah.
a very diverse group of people
it-
in my phone text me every week and say, "Did you see what Marjorie Taylor Greene said?" These are
This is
people
that
that
Tim.
are
I
Democrats,
forget his last name.
Republicans,
Tim.
people
he's a
that
big
are
right-wing
socialists, people that are
podcaster, and
more.
he's been on
you know,
top. He's
cultural
been pushing for
conservatives.
the Epstein
Your
Files all
message
along,
is
but
resonating with a lot of different diverse.
he ends up
things. And
pushing
I'm
her for
so
president.
disgusted with Washington, D.C. I hate politics. The two-party system is extremely broken. It is failing.
I see what
all
you're
of us.
saying. I mean, she's going
And-
for those independent voters now for a statewide race in Georgia,
Well, I posted on
attacking
the
both
trail.
parties.
I figured out how because Trump only hates Obamacare because the ACA because it's Obamacare and it's his deal.
Right.
So all he has to do is come in and say, "I'm going to increase the ACA subsidies by 10%, and we're going to
Yeah.
call it Trump Care." And then
Yeah.
everybody's happy.
Yeah. Well, I've thought from day one. I even did a video on it saying I thought that before this became obvious that's the solution to this shutdown is just extend those subsidies and we're done. You know, I mean, I don't know why and Trump's
But-
indicated he's
but if
open to that.
But if Congress can do something to change the name of it and
Yeah,
tweak
that
it in
would
a way
really-
to call it Trump Care, he'll go for it because you know he is
When
who
I
he
look-
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I like this. I liked this podcast. It was interesting.
Yeah, she kind of gets all over the place on it. And but you were right. I mean, she is going after Johnson. I
Mhm.
mean, whether she wants his job or not, I don't know, but she really has nothing nice to say about him.
I think that she'll go there, and I think that then I don't know if she. I really thought she was gonna try to run
a
against
little list
Asa for
that Thomas Massey read.
Okay.
And I can only read it because he's already read it on
This
the
is
House
where she
floor.
reads the descriptions.
This is the
of
most heinous crime ever, by the way. It's crimes against children.
Okay,
This-
this is
yeah.
this is we so the women these poor women, by the way.
Yeah.
These poor women
Right.
raped. They
Yeah.
told they went in front of the biggest press conference I've ever seen in Washington and stood in front of cameras, shaking, terrified,
Yeah.
and talked about being raped when they're 14 years old.
Jesus.
I mean, and there's known hundreds of them, but they think there's an estimated 1,000 or more of women. And these women are begging. They've done everything they can, everything they know how. They went to the police. They've filed lawsuits. They have done everything they can, and they're terrified. There's a group of them. It's not all of them. There's a smaller group of them that really say that it wasn't just him. And they are scared to release the names, and it's understandably so because when you release big names like that,
You get sued.
absolutely
Right.
get sued into the ground. Now Thomas Massey read, and we don't have those names yet. Okay, just to be clear, we don't have those
Yeah.
names. But we have a description of them.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
know
So
that.
let's
I
go
didn't
over-
know they had that Massey had actually read this on the House floor, but she's saying he didn't read actual names, of course. Just the
Not only that, but
descriptions.
did you notice in this thing? I don't know. You may have to back it up a little. She said, "I'm not suicidal." Before she read
Yes.
this.
Yeah, she does say that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
$100 million, a royal prince, a high-profile individual
Of course, we know who that. I mean, that's Prince Andrew, right? There's not any other royal princes that we've heard about.
No,
I guess.
that's him.
in the music industry, a very prominent banker, a high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy,
Elon.
one
Oh,
rock
Italy.
star, one magician, half
Magician,
Yeah, I
David
thought that too
Copperfield.
until she said Italy.
Yeah, David
half a
Copperfield.
dozen billionaires, including one from Canada. So, and Thomas Massey read that on the House floor. So this is okay to say. It's already been said.
Right.
And we have speech and debate clause. We can talk about this.
Right.
However, when you think about a list like that, those
Well, yeah, I kind of go into the weeds on this one now. Just because it was said on the House floor, there's protection for whoever said it on the House floor, but repeating it outside the House floor, I don't think
once
the
it's, I think
speech-
it's, I don't know. I
Does
think
that
once
still
it's out,
protect you?
I think once it's out there, she said that they have debate and protection clauses. So I think once it's out there, she can talk about it. Once it's been said on the floor, she's free to talk about it.
Yeah, that seems to be what she's saying. I'm sure she got her legal advice in advance.
are very powerful people with a lot of influence. And that's just the list of these people. It doesn't include the foreign country governments that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in,
Right.
the circles that he walked in, the business that he was able to do.
No, they don't. I don't think she gets into it, but this is where she doesn't echo what I keep hearing from that world is that he was a Mossad agent, that he was collecting all this blackmail for Mossad, and I know she believes that because she believes anything anti-Semitic.
But they were talking about her, Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, though, working for Mossad.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Epstein knew him and everything's going, you know what I mean? It's possible. It's possible that there's a link somewhere. And he was also, who was it that Epstein was friends with? Baruch. I think his last name was Baruch. In Israel. And so it's possible that just because it happens doesn't mean it's anti-Semitic. It means that there might be actual ties there. You know what I mean? We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Oh, we got a commenter on here. Lauren, military personnel and their families are increasingly relying on food banks and food pantries due to the economy and the shutdown. There is a 30% uptick among soldiers. Things are not working well.
Call all of your members of Congress and tell them, because I've done this already last week, that it's absolutely despicable that we are seeing videos of people in their army gear standing in food bank lines.
Yeah.
And so, and get back to work and save our ACA.
Yeah. I mean, Blue's not kidding, Lauren. She puts her money where her mouth is. You actually make calls about how often?
I call almost every day unless I'm unwell or something like that. Sometimes it's like I get busy during the day and I call after hours and I end up leaving a message, but usually I call during the day. I try to get to a staffer, but I can't always. Sometimes it just goes to a voicemail.
Yeah.
But I try to do that every day and talk to people or leave a message at least. You can also send emails. They've all got an email address and you can send that too. And tell them what's bothering you. Tell them, they're supposed to be.
Even if it's voicemail. I mean, people think it. I know from my political reporting days when I covered Capitol Hill and everything, is while they might not talk to everyone who calls, they have staff keep a record of what you called about and what position you took. Maybe it's just a yes or no on a piece of legislation, whatever. But they tabulate those calls, and it affects them. I've seen it in action. It's not a waste of time.
Well, it will make you feel better too. Because like I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's no way for me to go out in my backyard and protest. So I have to do something. I've been doing this since early February.
Yeah.
When it started to hit the fan. It's like potato chips. Once you start, you can't stop.
Yeah.
So please call. It's 202. What is it? 202-224-3121, I think. That sounds
I'll
right.
put that in.
202-224.
Call.
It's
I'll
that'll
just
get
say,
you to the
and
Capitol
that's the number to
switchboard.
call
The switchboard.
anyone.
Yep,
To
the
call
switchboard.
anyone in Congress.
Yep.
Call.
And call Mike
202
Johnson and Leader Thune and
202. What is it?
224-3121. 3121.
That's the main switchboard.
That's the main switchboard. And if you don't know who your senators or representative is, they will just give them your state and they will get you to somebody.
Yeah. And I know there's some websites like congress.org where you can go on there and you can type in your zip code and it'll give you the contact info for all your representatives and senators with phone numbers and emails and everything.
Yep, and they all have email. So if you don't want to talk on the phone, you can send them an email and say, hey.
Yeah. I've been getting I've been getting a round of fake calls lately. I've learned when you start getting those, you just have to not answer them, and then they quit after a while.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like Calvin Coolidge used to say when people talk too much. They said, "Well, how do you put up with that?" He says, "Oh, I just let them go until they run out of steam."
Oh goodness. Well, anyway, so that was I guess they got done with their thing in Oregon. They never went back to it, huh?
Yeah, C-SPAN did. C-SPAN got bored. That's really bad.
What I liked was Oregon. I guess it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. The head of the National Guard said if Oregon National Guard gets called out, they will be instructed to protect protesters. So that's the way to do it, I guess. Just take care. I guess if governors take control of their own National Guard and direct them to protect the protesters.
That would be wild, wouldn't it? That would be so wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And hey, I was going to say, Kansas is now wanting to gerrymander more districts too. They've just got a budget for it.
For Republicans, I assume.
Yeah. To gerrymander. So there you go.
Yeah.
So Democratic governors need to get on it and start playing dirty, just like they are.
Yeah, the battle over the ballot for the midterm is going to be as big as the election itself. Over who controls the ballots.
Yep. So. Okay, well, I'm gonna...
That it would advance your intentions for the challenging moments in which we find ourselves, and enliven with your spirit, and inspire the words that we use, that they would reveal the love you would have us share in our dealings with each other. Lord of our lives, we lay our own will down, that your will only will be done. And with the strength found in you, we call on your name as we offer our prayers this day. Amen.
Pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the Journal of the Last Day's proceedings is approved. The chair will lead the House in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. on Friday, October 17th, 2025.
Just so everybody knows what's happening is they just pretended to have a session so they can fulfill their constitutional duty to meet a certain number of days.
To the floor. It's been almost a month since House lawmakers were here in Washington.
She
they took
just
their
said
last
it's been a
vote
month
on the continuing resolution 25 days ago. that would have kept
They've
the
been in
government
session
open.
about
We are
20
now
days
in the
since
third
July.
work week of a government shutdown.
I'm of the
This
theory that
afternoon,
Congress is
getting your
basically,
thoughts
or at least the
on
House,
government
has
shutdown and your
been
message
disbanded.
to these lawmakers and the president. We'll take more calls while we wait for Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, to talk to reporters. We'll go to Caroline in Las Vegas. Republican Caroline, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. You know, I have to say, in regards to the callers, I'm pretty saddened. You hear the age as well, or you assume the age, and you know, our government was never made to legislate healthcare, to legislate morality. These folks obviously voted for a particular party.
Legislate
quite
morality.
obvious.
I missed that in
It's
the
a shame what's
Constitution.
happened to our blue states. It's
Health
very
and
sad.
human welfare.
My income bracket
I
is
don't know.
probably no different. However, I was raised with a great belief in the Constitution.
Caroline, I apologize. I meant to interrupt you. Go up to Capitol Hill because Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader, is holding
Okay,
his
this is
news
what I was
conference.
waiting
Live
for.
coverage here on C-SPAN.
See if we got any
that
breakthrough
actually
on
meets
the
the needs of the
shutdown.
American people and addresses the Republican healthcare crisis. The American people know that Republicans have shut the government down because of their unwillingness to provide health care to everyday Americans, working class Americans, and middle class Americans. The Republicans have created a healthcare crisis that is devastating people all across the country. Working class America, rural America, urban America, small town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities all throughout America. That Republican healthcare crisis includes, but is not limited to, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers closing all throughout the country because of what Republicans did in their one big ugly bill. The country faces a possible $536 billion cut to Medicare if Congress doesn't act by the end of this year. The Republicans continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which is going to result in tens of millions of Americans experiencing dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles. All across the country, including, most significantly, in states that Donald Trump won, and Republicans could care less. House Republicans canceled votes 2 weeks ago, canceled votes last week, canceled votes this week. House Republicans are on vacation, House Democrats are on duty here in Washington, D.C., ready to reopen the government, ready to support our troops and hardworking federal civil servants, and ready to address the Republican healthcare crisis that is crushing people all across the country in an environment where the cost of living is already too high because of failed Republican policies like the Trump tariffs. Questions?
Leader Jeffries. The government shutdown's going to get worse each and every single day for so many Americans, and we've already seen the standoff persist for some time. Republicans have rejected the Democratic CR that includes all of your demands there. So why not come up with a new approach, put a new offer on the table to try to jumpstart something rather than dig into your position?
We're open to sitting down anytime, any place with anyone in terms of our Republican colleagues, either here at the Capitol.
Why not put a new offer on the
Either
table?
here at the Capitol or back in the Oval Office to have a conversation about finding a bipartisan path forward. But there has to be a willingness amongst Republicans to actually have a conversation. And since the White House meeting over 2 weeks ago, Republicans have gone radio silent. Donald Trump has spent more time on the golf course than talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill. Republicans have been on vacation since September 19th in the House. And in the Senate, the Republican strategy is to do the same exact thing, bring the same failed partisan Republican spending bill to the floor over and over and over again, knowing it's going to go down. Because Democrats have been very clear. We're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. We are open about having a good faith discussion with our Republican colleagues to hear their ideas about reopening the government while at the same time decisively addressing the Republican health care crisis.
Leader Jeffries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. In terms of the military, it looks like OMB is finding money and appropriating it to pay the military. Do you agree with that strategy? Are you on board with that? And are you interested in ultimately one bill on the House floor to pay the military?
I agree with making sure that our men and women in uniform, our active duty troops, are paid. We also need to make sure that we take care of all of our hardworking federal civil servants, which is why Republicans should be back here in Washington working with us to reopen the government, as opposed to continuing the Trump Republican shutdown.
Leader Jeffries.
Good afternoon, thank you. Republicans have run on repealing and replacing Obamacare since 2010, but you're arguing for these subsidies to help subsidize Obamacare here. Isn't that an indictment that there's a problem with it, the fact that it needs to be propped up in some form?
No, the overwhelming majority of the American people, including in Republican-run states, support an extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits because they know that the Affordable Care Act has been an important part of ensuring that everyday Americans can afford to go see a doctor when they're sick, when their children are sick, and when their families are sick. And from our standpoint, it's strange that Republicans want to make this a partisan fight. This is not a partisan fight as far as Democrats are concerned. This is about the American people and ensuring that the American people can afford high-quality health care when they need it, including in red states. And by the way, the majority of states that benefit in terms of their people getting health care from the Affordable Care Act tax credits are states that Donald Trump won. West Virginia, number 1. Wyoming, number 2. Alaska, number 3. Tennessee, number 4. Mississippi, number 5. And states 6 through 10 are also states that Donald Trump won. This is not a partisan issue for Democrats. We care about making sure the American people can afford health care. Whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or a Republican, we are fighting for hard-working American taxpayers. The Republicans do have a credibility issue when it comes to health care and the Affordable Care Act. The American people know we're standing on the side of lifting up their quality of life, and Republicans have spent the last 15 years, you are correct, trying to repeal and displace people off the Affordable Care Act. In fact, they've done it more than 70 times, which is why if we're going to resolve this issue, it can't simply be a Republican wing and a prayer. We actually need legislative action that extends the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And by the way, also addresses other aspects of the Republican healthcare crisis that is crushing the American people. Thanks.
Leader Jeffries.
Third row, thanks.
The judiciary can only continue its full paid operations through Friday. Do you have any concerns about what will happen with that, criminal and civil cases?
We remain completely and totally concerned by all of the aspects of the Trump Republican shutdown, which is why we need them to abandon their failed my way or the highway approach, their take it or leave it approach, and the Republican go it alone approach. Because if Democratic votes are needed to reopen the government, which is the case, then this has to be a bipartisan discussion to find a bipartisan resolution to reopen the government and address the Republican healthcare crisis. We are very concerned with all of the implications of this Trump Republican shutdown and how the American people are being hurt. It doesn't seem to me that Republicans are concerned because they remain on vacation and have now canceled votes for the third consecutive week. That's outrageous. Democrats from all across the country will be here in person, meeting in just a few hours and throughout the week because we want to reopen the government. And the question has to be asked, why in the world are House Republicans still on vacation, spread out across the country and the world? It's perplexing. It's shocking. I'm flummoxed by the whole situation. It makes no sense. They're reinforcing the narrative that they could care less about the quality of life of the American people.
Leader Jeffries. Mr. Leader, want to ask you about November 1st, which is when open enrollment begins, as you know, and some rates are already being set. There are some who think that's a date by which, at this point, the leverage over the shutdown may not matter as much because the ACA subsidies will be in motion in terms of the rates. How do you feel about that idea?
Well, our view has always been that we have to address the Republican healthcare crisis and the need to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits with the fierce urgency of now, because at this moment in time, notices are going out to people all across the country indicating that their premiums, copays, and deductibles are about to skyrocket. People are about to pay thousands of dollars more per year. And for many hardworking American taxpayers, you're talking about their health insurance rates doubling, tripling, or quadrupling. In the congressional district that Speaker Johnson represents, you're talking about thousands of people in his district who are about to experience a 379% premium increase. How is that acceptable? That's happening right now. One of the reasons why we have to act right now is because of the November 1st open enrollment period. That's just the beginning of the open enrollment period. It'll last until early to mid-December. And so Republicans can try to run away from this problem that they've created by continuing to break our healthcare system, but they will not be able to hide. And that will become increasingly clear, as Marjorie Taylor Greene consistently has pointed out, in the weeks to come.
Leader
Jeffries.
Not often you hear Democrat leader of the House quoting Marjorie Taylor Greene in a positive way.
That you believe Republicans have a House majority due to the North Carolina gerrymander. They announced yesterday that they're going to try to draw Don Davis out of his seat. I want to get your reaction to that. And also, do you believe that Proposition 50 in California is enough to offset everything that Republicans are doing to try to redraw the map ahead of next year? And also, the Supreme Court is hearing the Louisiana redistricting case tomorrow. So I just want to get your thoughts on North Carolina, Prop 50, and the Supreme Court oral arguments tomorrow.
Well, the Supreme Court case tomorrow is going to be incredibly important, and we stand behind the civil rights community in defending the opportunity for people of every race to have an opportunity to elect the candidate or member of Congress of their choice, and to push back against the efforts by some in this country on the other side of the aisle to engage in partisan race-based gerrymandering to undermine the ability of Black, brown, or Asian communities in the country to be able to select their representative, as opposed to having extremists draw lines so that their representative can be effectively selected for them. We're going to be watching closely that Supreme Court oral argument tomorrow, and I stand behind Representative Cleo Fields, whose district is the subject of the litigation. And we also, of course, stand behind the civil rights community's efforts to preserve both Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, as well as the 14th Amendment protections against racial gerrymandering and undermining the ability of communities of color to elect the candidates of their choice. We're going to win Prop 50 in California. And I'm thankful for the tremendous leadership of the California congressional delegation, the people of California, Governor Newsom, and the coalition of folks who have come behind the effort to push back against what Republicans have maliciously done in Texas in trying to rip 5 seats away from Democrats as part of their effort to gerrymander the maps and rig the midterm elections. We are not going to let Republicans successfully rig the midterm elections. California is just the first Democratic state to respond. It will not be the last. We've got to win Prop 50. We will. And we're making the point simply as we communicate with the people of California, yes, on Prop 50 to stop Trump from stealing the election. And the Republicans know they're on the verge of losing Prop 50. That is just the beginning of the Democratic response. And we will respond forcefully across the country. Now, you are correct about North Carolina, and it's important for everybody to understand. This whole notion that we're in the midst of a Republican wave, a sea change politically, notwithstanding what happened in a bitterly disappointing election in November of 2024. But the notion of that myth that Republicans have tried to perpetrate is belied by the fact that Republicans currently have the narrowest majority of any party since the Great Depression. The narrowest majority since 1931, as I understand it, a 3-seat majority. Once Rep-elect Adelita Grijalva is sworn in, that should be happening today, by the way. But they're running scared because of their efforts to continue to hide the Epstein Files from the American people. But Republicans have a 3-seat majority. They wouldn't even have their 3-seat majority. They wouldn't even be in the majority right now had North Carolina not already engaged in mid-decade partisan gerrymandering last year. Because we know North Carolina is a 50-50 state, has a Democratic governor, Democratic lieutenant governor, Democratic attorney general, Democrat just won a close state Supreme Court race, all on the same day that Donald Trump narrowly won in November of 2024. And in North Carolina, before they engaged in vicious mid-decade gerrymandering to affect this Congress, in this 50-50 state, the North Carolina delegation, 14 members, was 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans. They then ripped 3 seats away from the people of North Carolina last year. And on January 3rd of this year, changed the delegation to 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats. That's their majority right now. They didn't even legitimately win in an election where everything at the top of the ticket was breaking for them. And they had to rely on stealing 3 seats from the people of North Carolina to artificially create their majority right now. This is why you can't take these people seriously in terms of any policy high ground in the House that they may claim to have. It's non-existent. So the question then becomes, they've already gerrymandered the map in North Carolina. And because Donald Trump, their boss, ordered them to go back and try to create an additional seat, this is what they're going to try to do. We're going to make sure that Representative Don Davis is reelected in North Carolina, and Democrats are going to take back control of the House of Representatives.
Leader Jeffries. Thank you, Mr. Leader. Are you aware of any plans to try to pay federal law enforcement? And in particular, do you think there should be something should be done to help U.S. Capitol Police? I know their union just put out a statement. They haven't gotten paid since Friday. And are you concerned that could impact the safety here at the Capitol?
Something should be done to stand by the U.S. Capitol Police. We're so thankful for their bravery and patriotism, service and sacrifice, and of course, should be done for law enforcement, as is the case for all federal civil servants, which is why Republicans need to get back into town and show up at the negotiating table so we can reopen the government. negotiate a bipartisan spending agreement that actually improves the lives of the American people, as opposed to what Republicans want to do, which is to get Democrats to sign off on their partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. It's not going to happen. We need to address the Republican health care crisis. We've made that clear repeatedly now for weeks, and that position is not going to change.
Leader Jeffries. Back in March, and even a little bit coming into this government funding deadline, there was a lot of concern among Democrats that if the government was shut down, that it would empower and give Trump the ability to run around Congress and do what he wants with government funding. Is what he is doing now exacerbating troop pay and finding money to pay for WIC, other things? Is that exacerbating Trump's ability to go around Congress?
In previous shutdowns, funding has always been identified to make sure that the Women's, Infants, and Children program has been funded, and we expect that that should happen during this moment in time as well. In terms of the mass firings, the violations of the law, the bullying of hardworking federal employees, that's been going on since January 20th, the first day of this presidency. The focus of the Trump administration has been on visiting chaos and confusion and cruelty on the American people, as opposed to doing what Donald Trump and Republicans promised on day one, which is to lower costs. But costs aren't going down in the United States of America. Costs are going up. Inflation is up. Electricity bills are up. Housing costs are up. Grocery costs are up. And now Republicans refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which is going to skyrocket healthcare premiums, copays, and deductible. Everything we're seeing right now in the midst of this Trump Republican shutdown is consistent with their failed policies that haven't made life more affordable for the American people. Republicans continue to make life more expensive. And Democrats are working hard to fix our broken healthcare system because of the crisis Republicans have created, and to lower the high cost of living.
Leader Jeffries.
You've alluded to and hit at this throughout the press conference about the pain that is going to be felt by federal workers, et cetera, over the coming weeks as this drags on. Which pain, as you're navigating the path forward here, is greater in your view? Is it the pain that is going to be felt by federal workers and people that depend on the federal government for services, or is it the prospect of skyrocketing insurance premiums? And is there a point where the shutdown pain becomes too great that it's not tolerable anymore for Democrats to hold this position?
The pain of a government shutdown is being felt by all Americans, and it's unfortunate that Donald Trump and Republicans have decided to shut the government down and then not to do a damn thing to find a bipartisan path forward. Not a thing over the last 2 weeks. I mean, Donald Trump literally has spent more time on the golf course than talking to Democrats. He spent more time creating deepfake videos than talking to Democrats. House Republicans have chosen to cancel votes now for 3 consecutive weeks. This is their behavior. These are facts. No one disputes these things. And as Democrats, Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats who courageously continue to hold the line, partnering with House Democrats, have made clear, we will sit down with anyone, anytime, any place to reopen the government and find a bipartisan path forward. But at the same time, we have to address the healthcare crisis that is breaking hardworking American taxpayers throughout the country. And the American people know it. This is not a manufactured healthcare crisis. It's real. And it's been visited upon the American people by Donald Trump and the Republican Party.
Leader Jeffries.
Thank you.
The president and the White House have confirmed now 4,000 firings across the federal government. As Kevin noted, that's something that Democrats previously said they were concerned about. If there was a government shutdown, the president would go through with this. Is there a way that Democrat strategy here has opened the door for the president to go about these firings?
Donald Trump and his administration have been engaging in mass firings since day one of his presidency. For the Republicans, cruelty is the point. And the fact that they are celebrating, meaning the extremists, the extreme MAGA Republicans, the fact that they're celebrating firing hardworking federal employees doesn't strengthen their position with the American people. It weakens it, because the American people don't accept that kind of cruel and callous behavior, and know that any responsible group of people would actually be standing up to support our hardworking federal employees and trying to actually find a bipartisan path forward to reopening the government, which is what Republicans refuse to do. In the face of a growing healthcare crisis, open enrollment on November 1st, premiums, copays, and deductibles about to skyrocket, and the fact that Republicans have already enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history as part of their one big ugly bill, so they could reward their billionaire donors with permanent tax breaks. Well, at the same period of time, refuse to consider a multi-year extension of the Affordable Care Act or a permanent extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Democrats are fighting for everyday Americans. Cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yankees collapsed.
Not cool, Chad. They're gonna rip Aaron Boone. Chad, not cool, man.
Well, doesn't sound like they got a whole lot out of him.
President Trump
in the
will
nature of
posthumously
knowing
award conservative activist Charlie Kirk the Medal of
whether
Freedom. Mr.
the
Kirk was
shutdown ends
assassinated at a
anytime
speaking
soon.
event in Utah. You can watch the White House
Sounds like-
ceremony live at 4 p.m.
It's not going to end anytime soon based on that or anything that's being said on the Republican side. Now, old Trump, he's yapping over at the White House, same in real time. We'll hop over here and see what he's saying. I did see he said something about that if Hamas doesn't disarm, we'll disarm them. I don't know what that means. A little concerning. Go hear that.
He's doing the right thing, but you have a radical left sick culture that's a very dangerous group of people, and they're trying to
Boy,
make it look
anytime you
bad.
drop into Trump,
believe he's
one of
gonna
the
win
first
out.
things you hear is radical left.
China.
Whoever
we have
he's
to be
talking
careful
about.
with China.
Radical
We
left.
everybody deals with China. They have to deal with us too. We have to be careful with China. Look, I have a great relationship with President Xi, but sometimes it gets testy because China likes to take advantage of people, and they can't take advantage of us. But we have a fair relationship with China, and I think it'll be fine. And if it's not, that's okay too. You have to do and go where the punches are thrown. You got to put up the blocks. We have a lot of punches being thrown, and we've been very successful. Look, we have the most success. I think we're the most successful we've ever been as a country. We have now close. I've been saying 17. We have, I think, close to or maybe even exceeding $18 trillion going to be invested in the United States. That's more money than ever invested in any country before. Even countries with much bigger populations like India or like China, nobody's ever had $18 trillion invested in the country. We have, and that's because of November 5th election, because I won. Oh, if she won, you'd be negative. You'd have people getting out of the country. This country would have been in a major depression. If she won, we would have been 1929. They'd like to see that anyway. That's why they keep the government closed. They have a shutdown based on nonsense. They want to give away 1.5, think of it, they want to give away $1.5 trillion to people that come into the country illegally. And as you know, the borders now are closed. But when they hear that they get the greatest health care package in the world and they have no money, but they're living okay in another country, they head up and they start forming caravans and they try and come into our country. But the big problem is they want to give health care to people that should not get health care. They want to give health care to illegal immigrants by the millions. Look at Gavin Newsom, what he's done. He's ruined California, gives health care to anybody. And I guess they do it for votes. I actually think it's bad politics, but I guess they do it for votes. So I'm with this man because his philosophy is correct. And he may win and he may not win, but I think he's going to win. And if he wins, we're staying with him. And if he doesn't win, we're gone.
How come the Argentina can help to the peace process, to the Middle East peace process?
They can help by doing well. If Argentina does well, that's helpful because they know we help Argentina. So if Argentina is successful, that's great because they view us as somebody that helped Argentina and they did well, and the United States maybe will help them and they're going to do well. So the success of Argentina would be a great feather in the cap of the USA because we're helping them. Right? You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, please, behind you. Behind you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week you said that NATO should consider expelling Spain.
What?
You said that NATO should consider expelling Spain. Would you support
I didn't know that. We declared war on Spain.
NATO considered
I missed
expelling
that.
Spain.
Oh. I'm very unhappy with Spain. They're the only country that didn't raise up their number to 5%. Every other country in NATO raised up to 5%. And Spain is doing very well off our backs. So I'm not happy with Spain. Spain gets protection, and they know, look, they're
Boss man's
sort of
not
in the
happy with
semi-middle of
Spain.
it. So they're going to get protected automatically, even if you don't want to protect him, you're protecting him because of the way they're located. And I think what Spain did is a very bad thing for NATO, unfair to NATO. It wouldn't matter if you said you're not going to protect them because they're pretty much protected. What are you going to do? Go through the other countries and let's go attack Spain, right? So I think what they did is not nice. I think it's very disrespectful to NATO. In fact, I was thinking about giving them trade punishment through tariffs because of what they did.
Uh-oh, here come the tariffs.
And I may do that. I think unbelievably disrespectful. Spain.
He's going to hit
The only
Norway
one
with
out of all
tariffs
the
because they
countries
didn't
in
give him
NATO,
the
The
Nobel.
only one that said that is Spain. And I think I think they should be punished for that. Yes. I
On the
do.
government shutdown, you have the money to pay the troops on October 15th. Okay. How
I
is
actually have a man who is a very wealthy person. You'll know that when I tell you this. Who called a donor, a great gentleman, and he said, if there's any money necessary, shortfall, for the paying of the troops, then I will pay it, meaning he will pay it. How about that? I said, look, we're not going to need it. We're going to take care of our troops, but this was a position that's being forced upon us by Democrats, and all they have to do is just sign a piece of paper saying we're going to keep it going the way it is. There's nothing. It's not like it shouldn't even be an argument. They've signed it many times before. I don't want to bore you with the fact that Schumer said 100 times, you should never close up government. But Schumer's a weakened politician. I mean, he's going to finish his career as a failed politician. He's a failed politician. He's allowed the radical left to take over the Democrat Party. So if they write books
Radical
about that,
left.
if they write books about him,
Antifa.
they're going to have to say that his career ended by allowing the radical left to take over the party. I mean, I won an election in a landslide because people are not into the radical left, and the Democrat Party is. People didn't want to
Landslide.
see men playing in women's sports. They didn't want to see transgender for
Landslide.
everybody. They didn't want to see all of the different things that they do that's so crazy. Open borders. I mean, the worst thing that he did to us, it's not inflation because we fixed inflation. Prices are way down. I don't know if you saw that gasoline went to 58.
We fixed
Just
inflation.
now. Did you see what's going on with gasoline?
It's down 12 cents
No,
over a
$58 a
year.
barrel. Nobody can believe it. I'm very proud of that. You know why? Because we're pumping like we've never pumped before. Because if you get the gas price down, everything else comes down. It's very simple. And he went away from my policies, and you had the greatest inflation. The last administration had the greatest inflation in the history of our country. And now, as you know, groceries are down. It's all down.
But on the shutdown, are you settling it for
Groceries are up 3%.
Are we looking months?
All they have to
All
do
right,
is
anything
just
that's down.
vote to extend. We don't need it. We're not saying we want money. We don't. What we need is a right to extend. They want a right to extend, but they want $1.5 trillion so they can give it away to illegal immigrants, the people that are invading your cities. And many of these people, for whatever reason, I mean, I understood this. I called it a long time ago. These countries are run by people I know, friends of mine. Like, I know this gentleman. I hope you haven't said, he probably did too. Why not? They send up their worst people. They send up people that are criminals. They send up people from jails. And at best, the best ones they send up are people that don't work very hard and that are on a social form of welfare. And they're sending those people into the United States. I don't blame them. I'm angry at them, but I don't blame them. But I'm really angry at Biden and Kamala and that group of lunatics for allowing it to happen, because it's the hardest thing. Now, you know, we're sending them out. It's incredible the job that Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group is doing. But we shouldn't have to be doing that. We're doing a lot of work on getting people out of here. Tren de Aragua has caused tremendous damage, and our soldiers are great. You know, our soldiers are now based on merit. They're not based on woke, because we won the case in the Supreme Court, which was the bravest case. I have such respect for the Supreme Court because of what they did with merit, because our country was built on merit.
He respects him
Countries
when
are
he wins.
destroyed on woke. You know, I made a statement, and I hated to make it because it sounded bad, but everything turns to you know what when it goes woke. You remember the term. I don't like to use it because you might have some children listening, but it turns bad. And
Looks like we got Johnson.
We have the hottest country right now
Where he's
anywhere in
at.
the world.
Base went crazy and they haven't forgiven him for it. That's why Chuck Schumer is opposed to it today. That's what changed. It's very obvious. This government shutdown is plainly and simply an exercise in image rehabilitation. This is an attempt at image rehabilitation for Chuck Schumer. So selfishly, completely about himself, he is shutting the government down to hurt other people. He needs to show a fight against President Trump so he can keep his left base happy through the next election cycle. How do we know that? Well, his record shows the obvious truth.
What are you
about it.
doing?
Again, look at the
Keep
numbers.
your
Chuck Schumer supported CRs to help
MAGA
avert a
base
government
happy.
shutdown 29 out of 30 times as leader of his party. And he emphatically supported every single CR enacted into law since 2017, except for one. And of course, you won't have to do much research to figure out who was in the White House during that time. If you said Donald Trump, you'd be right. And it doesn't take a genius to see that's exactly the same reason why he's doing this causing these antics today. So what you'll also notice about the CRs is that they've become routine. It's the routine thing to do around here. It's Washington's bad habit. And a CR was meant to be a temporary measure, is meant and designed to just keep the government open and funded for the people while Congress finishes its work on a final budget. And that's not happened in a long time. CRs have become too common. It's the status quo. It's not the way the founders intended for this process to work. The appropriations process was envisioned to be an exercise in good stewardship. They wanted the members of Congress to have open, transparent, bipartisan, line-by-line debate so that we could spend the people's money wisely. And that's precisely what Republicans are so eager to return to and what we have achieved. We are pushing that boulder uphill, as I've said, and for the first time since 2019, both chambers, House and Senate, have made real progress towards that stewardship goal. But we just need a little more time to finish it. That's the only thing the House passed CR does. It's a clean, short-term, nonpartisan continuance of funding so that that process can work out. Now, you've all heard Chuck Schumer demand that Republicans have to come to the negotiating table. Well before, this is an important answer to some of the questions that I anticipate you'll ask later, because it comes up in every press conference. Why won't you negotiate? Here's the point. We were already doing that. Before the Democrats recklessly shut down the government for their own political purposes, Republicans and Democrats were already engaged in responsible, open, bipartisan processes to find answers to these problems. And what Chuck Schumer means when he says that he wants us to negotiate is that he is demanding, and he said it publicly, I can't believe he says the quiet parts out loud sometimes, but he wants a backroom deal. He wants a backroom deal that the American people will never see. He literally has said, we need the top 4 leaders to go into a room and work this out. Why does Chuck Schumer say that? Because that's how he's operated for decades. He's been in Congress since 1980. I was 9 years old in the 3rd grade when Chuck Schumer got here, okay? He is the broken status quo. We are trying to break the status quo so government works better for the people. And Chuck Schumer is resistant to that because he can't even imagine the way the founders intended for this to work. He doesn't want this open, everybody involved, all members, bottom-up process. He wants 4 people to go in a back room and just make this deal and hoist it down upon everybody else. I'm not participating in that. Chuck Schumer doesn't like that. He doesn't like that we're trying to get Washington to work again because he doesn't know how to operate in that kind of system. And we're certainly not going to allow the American people to be taken hostage for his political gain. I'm going to hand it off first here to the indomitable Dr. Virginia Fox. She is the chairwoman of our House Rules Committee. We call her the Iron Lady of the House. I know she has a lot to say about Democrats' obstruction. She's going to lay out some of the indisputable facts of this government shutdown. Dr. Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for your continued work in calling attention to the facts. You remain consistent and concise in explaining to the American people that the Democrats have shut down the government. And thank you to the members of our leadership team and members of the entire conference who've been equally as vocal and engaged. I've listened to the arguments that Democrats have been making since they shut down the government, and I cannot help but shake my head in utter disgust every time. They continue to lie like a rug. They're trying desperately to change the conversation and deflect because they know they're in the wrong and they've dug themselves into a deep, deep hole. We've now entered day 14 of their government shutdown, and as the days go on, more Americans are feeling the pain. Make no mistake about it, this is real pain being inflicted upon real people. Today, 400,000 federal workers will receive partial paychecks. The Speaker called attention to this last week. This will be the last paycheck that these federal workers receive until Democrats grow a spine and reopen the federal government. Meanwhile, you have Chuck Schumer in the Senate who said in a recent interview, quote, "Every day gets better for us," end quote. His statement is as callous as it is tone deaf, and it reveals to everyone how the Democrats continue to use hardworking Americans as pawns in their own grotesque political game. I'll close with a quick observation. As the Speaker said previously, there's a real split screen here in Washington that the American people are watching. While Republicans are the ones who have voted and are continuing to vote to reopen the government, Democrats have treated their own shutdown as one big attention-getting activity. They've taken shutdown selfies, posted weird videos of themselves doing everything except
like
working.
Trump's
And they
videos aren't
even
weird.
hosted a live stream that failed to gain any traction whatsoever. How embarrassing. These are not serious people. They continue to play a dangerous game with the livelihoods of Americans. And contrary to what Democrats believe, every day of this shutdown does not get any better for the American people. That's a stone cold fact. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair Fox. And as the Speaker talked about, a lot of people say, why have the Democrats continued this charade of shutting down the government and inflicting pain, real pain on millions of families across America? And the speaker laid it out real clear. Chuck Schumer filed an alternative bill weeks ago of his list of demands, literally a list of demands that he said have to be met before he releases the American people from this torrential pain he's inflicting. And it includes $1.5 trillion of new spending on far left wish lists. Things like, yes, taxpayer-funded health care for illegals. It's in Chuck Schumer's bill. He guts rural hospitals, all as part of his demand to open up the government. It's not only not serious, it's also destructive. It's something that would actually hurt this country. And why? All so that he can show the radicals and the far left of his party that he's fighting Donald Trump. Everybody knows that's what this is about. Chuck Schumer is scared to death for his political future. He is way more concerned about his political job than he is about the jobs of millions of American families. And it's having a real impact on those families. Today, as has been pointed out, day 14 of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer imposed on the country, and it is the day where checks would normally be starting to be processed for all of the government workers, many of whom will not get a paycheck because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. You're already starting to see flight delays, families trying to go visit a relative, maybe go see one of their family members get married, go on a family vacation. They're not able to do that because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. Our men and women in uniform at risk of losing their pay. And I will credit Donald Trump for a lot of things, but if you look, President Trump has not sat by and just waited for Chuck Schumer to get over his tantrum. President Trump has continued to do his job for the American people.
Well, we've heard both sides talking a lot. The president talking a lot. And nobody talking about what people are feeling. Inflation. We're back with Stat Dude, our chat GPT with voice and face. Restaurant prices are going up faster than groceries?
You got it. That's exactly the twist. So groceries are going up, sure, but restaurant prices are outpacing them. It's like the menu's got a mind of its own. And a lot of that is because restaurants have these costs like labor, rent, and just the reality that once they raise
Okay, let's get into the numbers. We know after the pandemic, restaurant prices went up. Over the long haul, what kind of numbers are we looking at?
So since around 2020, restaurant prices have climbed roughly about 29%, while groceries have gone up around 22%.
In the last how many years?
Yeah, you're looking at about a third jump in menu prices over roughly the past 4 to 5 years.
And now over the past year,
over just the past year, restaurant prices have gone up about 3.9%, while groceries have risen around 2.7%. And the restaurant menu's still kind of turning up the heat.
Details and sources on trailmix.cc.
Viewer mail time. Today's topic, inflation is not gone, just rebranded as fun size. Research 903 writes, gas was $4.85 under Biden, now $2.35. AAA says it's more like $3.50. So Kenneth Steen writes to that guy, you're a liar. Kenneth, I admire the passion. Maybe save it for the oil companies, not the comment section. Blue says, I pay more every day. That's the new national anthem. Astro Cats, he put tariffs on coffee. Now that's the outrage that unites America. VAD1, Pete's coffee went up from $6.99 to $16.99. Trump's a traitor, and there it is. Caffeine meets politics. Inflation still 2.9%. Prices cooled. Greed didn't. Keep your receipts. Check the ounces and beware anyone bragging about $2.35 gas. Get Safeway brand coffee last week of the Biden administration. That coffee I got for $4.99 a pound. and it is now $6.79 a pound. The very same brand at the very same store. So
That's what I love buying something from Sam's Club that Sherry liked. I about run out of coffee, and I went to look it up, and I thought, oh my goodness, almost $18 for a bag. It used to be like 12 or 13.
And you can only tell people. I mean, I don't care if they do take over the Bureau of Labor Statistics and lie about all the numbers and say none of it's happening, inflation's gone, like Trump said the other day. People aren't going to buy it when they're not. That's not what they're living.
Okay, I'm Lady Mau Mau, Craig's built-in emergency brake. If this wasn't enough for you, sign up for the newsletter. It's free, it's thoughtful, and it occasionally makes sense.